Right, let's get started. Christel, can you hear me okay? Thumbs up, thank you very much. I wonder why I'm seeing just you, no one else. There we go, let's try that. So welcome everyone to let me just move, to the MCO methodology. And the reason this has come about is because I keep on having the same conversations with people. And they're not quite doing everything I think or hope they should be doing. So I'm keen to make sure that that's not going to work. I'm keen to make sure that not everyone's making that mistake, and that you're making the most of what you can, what's out there and what's available to you. And there's some simple wins in this over the course of the next 3 presentations. There's some things I'm going to share with you that 100% you're not doing all of them. I'm sure some of you will think you're doing most of them, but the reality will be something quite different. I want to make sure you're not making those mistakes, and make sure that you're making the most of all these opportunities. So let's dive in. So I'm going to talk to you about the MCO methodology, and this came up because one of my mentors, I've always said I can't consult or mentor solicitors. I don't do the same for my own business. And someone who sort of challenges me on what I say is happening and what isn't happening said, well, what are you seeing? What's going on? What are your common challenges? I said, well, it's the same stuff all the time. And, it frustrates me that I'm not getting the message across. And he said, well, make it into a training, make sure you cover it in detail so that no one's got an excuse as to what they should be doing and how they should be doing it. So that is why we're here. So that's why I'm doing it. What is it? I'm going to take you through that in a minute, and then I can take you through the first part today. Could be 30 minutes, could be 45, up to an hour, no longer. I'll take any questions today, but also I'll encourage you to send me, if you go away and think about something and think, well, I understand what Nick was saying, I'm not quite sure that's right, or how do I apply that to my business? Then please, email me and I'll cover it on the next session, or I'll do additional trainings about it, because I really want to get this point across, and make sure that you're making all you can of all you've got. And there's a handout to go with this. So all the things I cover, I'll give you a handout. This is being recorded, so it'll be in the members area for you as well. So the MCO methodology is what I go through for all of my clients. And frequently they'll say to me, Nick, what else should I be doing? What else should I be spending money on? And I'll say absolutely nothing else at all, because we haven't cracked these 3 nuggets yet. And the reason I say that is because I'm not about spending money for the sake of it. If I can get my clients another 10 grand a month, 50 grand a month, 100 grand a month, whatever their target is, depending on what size they are, if I can do that without spending any more money, then I am happy as Larry. It's not just about spending money for me. It's about making sure the fundamentals are in place. And that's what I'm sharing with you today. And it's if clients say to me, I want to fill my bucket with water, Nick, I know it's got a few leaks. I don't care about those. Let's just put more water in. Let's get more water in. It's just no point. It's not going to work. We have to fill the leaks in the bucket. And that's what I want to do. I want to fill any leaks you've got and make sure that you can grow to whatever size you want without spending more, just by getting better at these 3 things. And let's say that the thing is, I know there are people on this course that we're saying I do all this. Everyone I speak with, whether it's a new client or an existing client, they're not doing it all. And I constantly try and make it better. So that's why this training is here. As I say, the most important thing is it can put more money into your bank account without spending a penny more, which I like. Very big fan of that. So the methodology is M for measure. Measuring, I'm going to share with you today what you need to be measuring, and what it means. And then we'll go on to conversion next, because that's probably the biggest thing. But if you're the thing is, if you're not measuring the right things and you get better at conversion, you're not going to know. And sometimes it's a bit of a slog when you do this stuff. And if you don't see the fruits of your labors, you just think, well, I'm not going to bother doing anything else because nothing seems to work. So what's the point? So I don't want you doing that. And the only way you can see when you do things that things get better is if you're measuring the right things at the beginning. So we then move on to conversion, and that is a great place to be. Because if you have 10 inquiries a month, you convert 1, getting to 3, 4, or 5 a month just dramatically changes your business without any extra spend. So that'll be the next session. And then we'll move on to optimization, which is making the most of everything you are doing in a marketing way is making the most of it, and making sure you're getting everything you can out of it. So that will be part 3. So we'll dive into some of the details. So today is about what you need to measure and how you do it. I say any questions, either bang them in the chat box and Christo will filter them to me as they come in. Or if you want to wait till the end, you can do that. Or if you want to email me afterwards, I'll make sure they're answered in future sessions. So one of my favorite saying, what gets measured gets better. There's no treasure without measure. If you don't know where you are, what's going on at the moment, you've got absolutely nothing to base what you do on the results of it. And every single time I speak with a potential new client, and I'll ask them, what are their numbers? The numbers I'm going to share with you today, most of them. And they say, well, I think we're about this. And I think we're about here. And when I actually get the numbers, or they actually go find out, oh, nowhere near where I thought it was. Don't really know what's been going on. So you have to know what your numbers are. I'm going to show you what you must be measuring. And these are measured at least every month. I do this in my business. You need to do it in yours. And I don't find it easy in my business because, of course, the plumber doesn't do his own plumbing. So what I have done and what I encourage you to do is get yourself your own Christelle. You can even use Christelle because she's not exclusive to me. And she nags me or prepares numbers for me so that I make sure they're done and I can review them. And as with anything, if you outsource it or you make someone else responsible for it, it's much more likely to get done than if you're trying to do 100 things and you won't do it. So yeah, get yourself Christelle, make sure these numbers are put together. I'm going to share with you the handout. There's the handout, just so you can see there's a handout coming your way. I won't show you what's in it yet, so I'll ruin the fun of what's coming up. So let's get on to what we're going to measure first. And website traffic, hardly anyone knows their website traffic number, which I find disappointing because it is your 24/7, 365 advertisement window. You used to pay for the yellow pages. It never worked. They told you it did, and that's why you spent $5,000 a year or whatever. They used to pay for it because that was all you had, really. That was all you thought you needed. Yellow pages was actually just used for people to find your telephone number. They already knew you, as confirmed by a rep when he showed me his numbers. But we all thought that worked. Whereas your website absolutely is your website, your window for your services 24/7, 365. But if you don't know how many people are finding it, what they're doing from it, then you don't know where you're starting from. So you want to know, if you get right, you get more visitors, which leads to more inquiries, to more clients and more billing, which is quite nice. And the other side of measure, why it's important to measure your website traffic is so many people I speak with, so many solicitors, other business owners in the service sector tell me they're spending $250 a month, $500 a month, 1,000 or 1,500 a month on search engine optimization, search engine marketing, getting to the top of Google organically without paying per click. And when I say to them, great, okay, so what are your numbers like? Well, I'm not really sure. I get a report every month and, it seems to say we're doing well. And they're very good at that, SEO companies. They're good at showing you lots of reports and graphs that shows, look, your traffic's going up. But if your inquiries aren't going up, and if your conversions aren't going up, your instructions, it's absolutely irrelevant. And what I find with most SEO companies is they get you traffic, but it's not buyer intent traffic. So they get someone that searched something related to your service, but they're not actually looking for a solicitor, so it will never turn into traffic. But it's easy for them to get that traffic because no one's after it, because it won't bring any business in. And that's what SEO companies do. So I've spoken to clients that have gone from 1,000 visitors a month to 4,000. I'm going to share with you where your numbers ought to be in a minute. And they say they've gone from 1,000 to 4,000. I think, great, we've got more traffic, but it's made not a difference to their inquiries, their client instructions, because it's not traffic with buyer intent. So that's why especially if you're spending on SEO, but even if you're not, if you're adding good content to your site, the reward of doing that is that your traffic goes up in time. If you're not measuring it, you've got no idea if it's working. You'll lose heart, you'll stop adding content, and you'll disappear. And the reason you don't want to do that is, let's go straight forward to this one. Actually, this is one of my client sites, and I asked them if I could share these numbers without going into details. I asked if I could share their numbers because I've worked with them for years, and they've done what I've told them for years, which isn't always the case. Because solicitors, I don't know if you know this, but they're quite a hard bunch to control sometimes. But this client just took my advice from day one. I think I started working with them maybe 2008. And they've done it ever since. And they've added content to their website every single month over all those years. And look at this traffic that suddenly this year, there seems to have been a turning point, 9,400 sessions a month, which is what I like to measure. Some people will come back twice, but I'm just looking at the overall number of visits to our site, and then 13,000 page views. So and that's gone up in September to 14,000. We had a high of 15,400. That is a lot of people finding the site. And it works very well. And it's not, these aren't numbers that have no substance behind them. There's very good inquiries behind them as well. So, we're not paying an SEO company. They're taking my advice and adding content. And if most solicitors just did that, which we'll look at in section 3, you would get more traffic. It just works if you do it well and if you optimize the content you're putting on the site. And so we'll cover this sort of thing in number 3, optimization. But that's just to show you that this stuff works. When you measure it, you can see you've had a great month or 3. It's rewarding. It makes it sense of all that money you spent employing a copywriter, all that money they spent on me telling them to do this. Few that worked. All of these things, just give them a pat on the back and say, keep doing it. It's working. I mean, why would you stop with those numbers? Why would you stop? And then a niche site. This is actually my site, and there's a couple of interesting things here. Obviously, not many solicitors want to share their stats, so there's a lot of my data in here, but it gives you the overall theme, and I give you ballparks of where you want to be. Now, some interesting things here. I'm in a niche, and it is a small, relatively small niche. I expect my site to be around 1,000 a month. So you'll see I'm there. You'll see in September, my code completely dropped off, which obviously, because I measure these numbers, I went, why has no one found me? Well, they had been, but the Google code had dropped off. So I was able to fix that. And then the other things you might look at here is go, I was about where I should be January, February. And then I had a real splurge of traffic up to June, July. What happened from March to June, July? I was testing some display advertising. I was spending more with Google. And the interesting thing, because I know the rest of my numbers, it made no difference whatsoever. So I stopped doing it in August. But I tested it. I tested it for a few months. As I test all sorts of things, so I've recently tested investing in an SEO company to do some optimization on my site. The code only went back on early in October. I've yet to see if it's made any difference. I don't think it has, but I test these things before I tell you what to do to make sure it works before I get you to spend money on it. But that's where I expect a niche site to do. So if you operate in one area of law, that's where I expect you to be. If you have a general site, then I expect you to be 3,000 or more, up to those sort of figures you've just seen. But yeah, niche site around 1,000. You can get, as that site is a niche site, that's all I'll say. And they're obviously above 10,000. But when I get someone, I often get solicitors come to me, a general practice doing conveyancing, wills, employment, etc. And they're less than 1,000. I know that the site just isn't working. There's not enough content. There's not enough pages. They haven't optimized it. And the beauty of that is very quickly you can change that. And suddenly, if they're getting 300 or 400 visits, get out to 1,000, and the inquiries and the website converts, they're going to start getting a good flow of inquiries through. So that's website traffic. Website speed, and this one, some web companies just really bad at this. And some don't even look at it and don't want you to find out about it. But the reason it matters so much is Google says it does. And Google says it does to an extent that it will decide where you sit in the rankings based on how quick your site is. So if your site's really slow, it says, well, I'm not going to send you any traffic. You haven't made an effort. Why should I send anyone to your site? So you won't get as much traffic. And more importantly, the visitors that do arrive there will get bored. They'll be waiting for something to load and it won't load right. Do you know what? Back button. Go to your competitor, give them the inquiry, see what they do. So it is very important. And it's not easy. I mean, because it changes all the time, which is what I want to show you. So the easiest way of measuring is Google Page Speed Insights. There's other tools as well, but hey, look, Google is the most powerful search engine because it has all of your clients waiting for you. So other people will say measure it with a different thing, but we're trying to please Google because Google brings the traffic. So for me, it's the number one. And I will show you what I found in preparing this. I was doing one of the slides yesterday, and I found solicitors near me, which you will gain leads from as part of your Marketing for Solicitors membership. And the site was slow yesterday. This was the screenshot I took on Google's Page Speed Insights test yesterday, 30 for mobile and 73 for desktop. So if you measure these numbers every month, you'll check this, and sometimes it'll go up and sometimes it'll go down, but that is way too low. 30 is just not acceptable. So a quick nudge to my developer, and we got up to 50 for mobile and 98 for desktop. He's still going to work on mobile, and I expect that to get back up to 70s. But you should be tracking this number every month, and on the sheet I'll give you, there's a space for your page speed. So check it every month, and if it's not fast enough, get onto your web company and say, can you do some work on that, please? It does change, because if you add more media, that can change it. Everything, plugins change it. If you use things like Elementor, it's going to be a very slow site, which is why I recommend that you don't. So all sorts of things can affect it, and to go into the detail is beyond me. So I just say to my developer, work on it. He does, and he improves things. So as I say, what I'm looking for you is at least a speed of 50 on mobile, and a speed of 70 or more on desktop. You should be able to get into the 90s on desktop, because it's obviously people have faster laptops, desktops that work harder. But that's what you're looking for. And if you're not, if you are very slow, it is going to lose you business. A, you're not going to get the traffic from Google, and B, you're not going to get the inquiries because people will get bored and go to your competitors. So you need to measure your speed every month. The next one, Google My Business. I love Google My Business, and strongly encourage you to make sure, if you haven't already, that you work through the Google My Business blueprint in Marketing for Solicitors Private Zone, because I still don't think it's tapped out. Just to show you how important it is. If we go to Google, you search on, so I've done this for my company name for obvious reasons. If someone does this, if someone's recommended to your firm name, the first thing they'll do is go and check you out on Google, because that's what we're trained to do by Amazon and Trustpilot and all those sorts of things. And on that point, I wouldn't be going to Trustpilot, or definitely not to Review Solicitors, even though for some reason there's a deal done with them. Crazy to me, because no one knows those sites exist. Where is it? It's not here. And if you look for yourself, you'll find it halfway down the page. Whereas Google is at the top of every page. So this is where you should be trying to please. So I wouldn't be investing in review sites. I'd be making sure you've got 100 reviews on Google. Because the holy grail of what you're looking for is, you want to be, when someone searches for your business name, you want to be top in the Google Ads, as I am there. You want to be on the right-hand side with your Google My Business listing. And then you want to be here organically as well. And if you can do all three of those things, then anyone that checks you out, as long as your overall review score is good, is going to be happy. So for you, it's important that you know your position, and ideally you get to the holy grail of pay-per-click position 1, Google Maps position 1, SEO position 1, whenever anyone goes looking for you. And I've shown you my example. And the other thing I always say to all of my consultancy clients is, we're going to track your Google My Business rankings, your score, and how many reviews you've got. And we're also going to track your nearest competitor. Why do I do that? Because everyone gets bored of their own stuff, but as soon as they see their competitor doing better than them, they get a little bit touchy about that and suddenly become a bit more motivated to make things happen. So on this case, I just did a local search for residential conveyancing solicitors. Now, if you're Star Legal Incorporated Murray Roach Solicitors with 1 review, 5-star, and you're up against Barker and Kirby with 63 reviews at a 4.3 overall rating, no one's going to go there if they're just doing this on a review basis. There's not even a link to the website, and they're down here as well as another one. But that's going to motivate you. If you are Star Legal Incorporated Murray Roach, you're going to want more reviews. Interestingly, the other thing on here, this is why important why you do the training. Look at this, open closes 1 p.m. What day is it? Thursday. Gosh, half day closing. Do you remember those days? That's showing my age. Most of you will be sitting there going, what's he talking about? Shops used to shut for half day. I think it was on Wednesday in most places. It seems that these solicitors are following the same principle, which is going to be difficult in this day and age. But what I always say with Google My Business, which is in the training, which if you haven't done, you really must do it, is put that you're open 24/7, because as long as you've got a contact form or you've got live chat on there, managed for you by someone else, if you haven't, you should have, I can introduce you, then you are open. And the worst thing you can see is, when someone's searching for a solicitor at 4:30 and they see closes 5 p.m., that goes red. And so it tells them that, they're just about to shut. And, look, this one's open 24 hours. I'll call them. So I strongly encourage you not to do that. So yeah, there's your Google My Business, and the numbers you need to track are your total reviews, what the average score is, and then your competitors' total and average score. And then guess what? You'll get those numbers better. Clients, a lot of my consultancy clients are good at this bit, especially once I've put the competitors bit in there, because they get really fired up to make sure they're beating them. And I fully understand that. So that's why I suggest you do the same. Who's the firm that you want to beat? Put their score in next to yours and make sure you beat it. It's very rewarding, keeps you going, which is what it's about half the time. Email marketing, I'd still say this is if you're a general practice, you offer a range of services, it's one of the best things that everyone should be doing. If you can't write one email a month, correct me, if you can't get one email written for you a month, then you're missing out. If you're in a niche, it can be very powerful because it leads to referrals, recommendations, and it is the easiest way to sell more of your services to existing clients. And it saves that expression that I remember a couple of times in practice before email marketing existed. Oh, I didn't know you did that service. And you've just let a client go down the road to your competition. If you're general practice and you're not email marketing, why? Just easy money there. I find it very strange. It's so easy to do, so easy to outsource, and it just makes sure that your clients know how you can help them, and they remember that you exist, and they come back to you. And if a friend says, "Oh, do you know a solicitor that can help with this?" They go, "Oh, hang on, I had an email from mine the other month. I'll forward it on to you." Away you go. So these are the sorts of numbers that you should be tracking. Your email list size, date email was sent, open rate. Don't fixate on that. I'll show you why. And recommendations and referrals received. Now I'll come back to this in a minute, but I'm just going to show you, where your list should be. But this point, more importantly, I had one client who was in a niche, did so well that he sold his practice. That's good. And just sent one email a month to. Christelle's just said, make sure you're recording, Nick. I think I am. Good question. It's a bit late to see that message, but thank you. Let me just check now. I'm sure I am. Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Christelle. So yeah, niche practice, did so well, sold it, but they were getting 20 to 30 referrals, recommendations, which they didn't used to get. That started after they sent an email once a month for a long time. So that's the best example I can give you of why you should do it. I know many firms don't get around to it, and I find that disappointing. If I didn't have an email list, if you're in a B2B sector, you absolutely have to do email, because you're not going to get the volume of work you'd like otherwise. So here's some of my recent emails to my general list, non-marketing solicitor members. And you might recognize some of the titles. What I do is I generally follow the same theme, but you get extra content that they don't get because you're paying for the extra content. They get the overall headline and then are told how they can get hold of the extra content by joining marketing solicitors. But you might look at those numbers and go, no, open rates. They've always talked historically about 20% as a really good open rate. I don't care about open rates because everything's different. Everything's based on timing. Sometimes I get way past 20%, 30, 40%, others not. But this is the number I look at more. This is just one of my solicitor lists. 400 people have opened the email, 300 or 400. That, for someone I'm not looking for 100 more clients, and most of my clients aren't either. If you can get 100 people opening your email and 2 of them instruct you, it's worth spending that bit of time doing your email marketing. And that's why people get sort of challenged by it. Oh, I need more numbers. If you're only looking for an extra 5 clients a month, which might give you an extra £20,000 turnover, or you're looking for 15 clients if you're a bigger firm for 60 grand turnover, those numbers are all achievable with email marketing if you do it consistently. So I do recommend you do that. And if you're opening lots of files every month, 100 files there, your list size should be grown by 50 to 75. You should be adding there should be a process that every time you open a new file, or you take an instruction, you whack them onto your client database, double opt-in so you can comply with GDPR. There's training on how to set up the software. I use Aweber in the marketing solicitors. So you've got all of that there. If you're just opening 10 files a month, 5 people going on your list, 60 people a year to 900 people a year that are going to hear from you. If some of them, if half of them at some point open your email and half of them send you a referral, forward it onto a friend, you're going to get business from that. So it's one of the easiest things to do, and it can make you some nice, easy money, which is good. I like that. So yeah, so that niche firm did it, and I used to make and track referrals, recommendations, and it just went up and up and up. And that was the only thing that we did was send an email once a month. A lot of it was staff talk and bits and pieces. So it wasn't even legal content, but at least people remembered where they were, what they did. So you've got to track your numbers. Google Ads. I meant to comment on. Hope you're enjoying my lovely little drawings, my artwork. yeah, it's high quality. That's my take on the Google badge. It's very good, isn't it? Why does Google matter? Because it's still just one of the easiest ways to get more business. If your website works and makes your phone ring already, get more traffic to it instantly and make your phone ring more. And the return on investment, I look for a starting point at 3-1. At 3-1, if you're spending 1,000 and getting 3,000 in fees, you're making some profit in there, and then you get a lot of people get extra instructions off the back end. So the second bit of work is free. Other people then just start on optimizing, as we'll go through in session 3, making Google Ads work harder. So whether you're running it yourself or you have someone running it for you, you've got to know what your numbers are to make sure they're going in the right direction, and to make sure if it's being managed for you that you know the basics. So I'm going to cover the basics now, and we'll do some more on it in section 3. But this is some solicitors near me numbers. I spend some money testing traffic, and I use it to play with things to test on client accounts, and get a not insubstantial amount of clicks. That's the actual people clicking on my ads to go through the site. That's the total number of searches for the keywords I'm bidding on, which relate to solicitors near me, interestingly enough. Now, the key numbers, obviously, to follow it, how many clicks you're getting every month. You want those numbers generally to be consistent or to go up and down. I play around quite a bit, which is why it changes. You want to make sure that you're being featured in searches. So the 6,000 around impressions, that's pretty steady apart from July. And is that when we opened up? Click-through rate, if you can get around 5%, you're doing well. Some niches can get better than that, 15%. Other more competitive areas, you're going to get sort of 2 or 3%. And click-through rate is for every 100 searches, how many people click on your ad. Now, if you're, say we're talking personal injury, where you might spend a fortune on clicks, and you don't want to spend a fortune, you're not going to be at the top of the page because your money will disappear. So you're going to get featured lower down. So obviously, if there's 100 people searching a personal injury solicitor, say, and your ad's the last thing on the page, then many of them won't get there. So if you get 1% click-through rate, but you're paying something you can afford for it, then it still can work. If they go to the other sites and they're too slow, or they don't like the way they talk, and they get to your site and off they go. Average cost per click. I've got some very cheap traffic here. For solicitors, average cost is going to be £2 to £5, sometimes up to 10, 15, and then personal injury, spend what you like up to £50, depending on what you're after. And then what conversions are for me, that's people filling in a form or clicking the telephone number, and obviously what you're spending. So we can look at these in more detail. And what I've said here is Google Ads is such a complex and becoming even more complex area. As a marketing solicitors member, if you're stuck, just ping me an email, give me access to your Google account, and I'll dive in and do a video review for you, telling you what I'd be looking at to make it better. That's the easiest way for me to give you, direct advice on those. Next, this is, the easy bit. If you know your leads and conversions, then billing takes care of itself. So as solicitors, we're trained to focus solely on billing. If we just look at the billing, have we billed enough this month? No. Managing partner used to come around and shout at me, Nick, do some billing. Okay, I'll just magic some billing for you. But I knew, for me, it was about measuring. I had enough files and I had enough work in progress, then I knew the billing would take care of itself. So I never really worried about billing because I didn't have to. I just monitor those numbers. So many solicitors I speak with don't monitor those numbers. So I'll say to them, someone will have more clients now call with me, say, I want to grow. Okay, where are you now? How many inquiries, how many files do you open up? Oh, I don't know. So, well, how do you know where you want to grow to if you don't know what's coming in already? How do you know if it's going to be better? So you have to know these numbers, and 99% of your competition don't. So it's important that you do. And the reason why it's most important is if you know you need to open 10 files a month to hit your targets, because that's what you've always done. If you only measure your billing and you don't notice, suddenly you're taking on 8 files 1 month, and it's 6, and it's 4, then it's 3, 6 months to a year down the line, depending on what your billing period is, you're going to have a problem. If you measure the leads and you 2 months in a row you're at 8, not 10, you do something about fixing that. You optimize, you convert better, you work harder, and you don't ever have the billing problem because you've overcome it before it's become a problem. So it's just vital, really important. So if you're not measuring your leads and conversions, you absolutely need to. And we'll go into this in more detail next week because I want to talk to you about conversions, because, as I say, if we can get that right, then you're never going to have a billing problem or any issues there. So you've got to measure the total amount of inquiries you get, leads, how many of those turn into clients, and then the percentage your conversion, overall percentage conversion. And then you're going to do that again, but do it with good leads. So obviously you're going to get inquiries. I wish it was easy to do this. Just say, only phone us if you've got a really good inquiry. We don't want the rubbish. People haven't got the money to pay us. We're not interested. You can't do that. So you're going to have to take the rough with the smooth. But you then can measure your good leads and good conversions and percentage. So what I mean when I say good lead is one that you would like them to instruct you because it's a good matter, good case, good instruction with good fees associated. You would like the work. So you measure both of those, and we'll look at how you make those numbers better next week. But if you can get your lead volumes up and you can get your conversions up, it can make a dramatic difference to your instructions. And we'll go into that in more detail because there is nothing, after you're measuring, the next stage is to work on improving those conversions, because your competition generally, who was I speaking to the other day who phoned a solicitor for a quote, never received a phone call back. So that's the starting point of bad competition. And then there's others that I've just instructed a firm of solicitors, and I was recommended to them, made no effort to sell to me, took no time to talk to me, just gave me the price, said, here you go. I wouldn't have instructed them if they weren't recommended because they've done a really bad job of trying to win me over. And I'm not going to tell them because they're not asking for my advice. And I've always learned that if people don't go looking for the advice and I give it to them, they won't do anything with it anyway. But that's a different story. But the point I make is most solicitors are really bad at this. If you take the time to get better, it dramatically increases your client intake and your profits. And it isn't impossible to do. You just have to measure as a starting point, where are you? How many leads, how many turn into clients, and what's your percentage? Both of those numbers, what gets measured gets better. You will work on improving them when you look at them every single month. I would suggest for leads every single week. So what are your targets? Some firms come to me and their conversion rate is appalling. It's below 10%. So they're having 10 inquiries and converting only one. That in any area of law is low. If you're a general practice offering a range of services, I expect you to be hitting 30% without much effort. You can get up to 40, 50% overall. And then for niche in a general practice, you can get 60 to 95% of good inquiries. A niche, you can generally get better results because you're in a smaller niche, depending how competitive it is. But yeah, if you're a general high street firm, you should be hitting 30% quite easily. And if you work hard at that, you can get that up to 40 or 50% of overall inquiries. And then for your good inquiries, you can get it much higher. Because if you want this work, you should be going after it and making sure you get the instruction. And we'll cover that in more detail on the next call. But just please make sure you are tracking your numbers at least monthly, but ideally weekly. Now, I have a warning. If you do all of this, and I'll be taking questions in a minute if you've got any, so please bang them in the chat box or get ready to unmute yourself. I have a warning because some of my clients do most of this, and they start getting better. They start getting better. They know the web traffic goes up because they work on it going up. They know that they're sending an email every month. They get inquiries from that. They get inquiries from their website, their email, and their Google ads. And so they start to get really busy and everything looks great. And they think, we've cracked it. We've cracked this marketing lark. Away we go. And then there's just some other numbers you need to track to make sure you don't then fall into the next step or next problem, which is that you do the marketing, you do really well, you see the files coming in, you see the leads coming in, conversions, file opening, and suddenly the team gets focused on just getting the job done and they stop doing billing, they stop chasing age debts, and you have a headache at the other end of the problem. So at the other end of the matter. So you also need to be checking your work in progress if that's relevant, or checking that your fee earners are doing the work they need to move a file through its process. Check that they're doing the billing consistently, and check that there's no age debts rising, because the number of times in the old days, before I realized what was going on, when I got my clients loads more work, they were happy as Larry, and then a few months later, oh Nick, we got debt piling up and we got billing problems and no one's doing any bills because they're busy servicing the client. So you have to do the whole end to end from beginning to end, including the billing bit and the age debt bit, which all fee earners hate, because once they finish the matter, I've done with that. I'm on to the next file. I know I was there, but you've got to track, as the owner, you've got to track every step of that process to make sure that they're not making those mistakes. So there is a sheet, as I say, that comes with this, which I shall give you, which has got all of that on it. It's not very pretty. I prefer functional over prettiness. So I'll give you access to that in the More Clients Academy, Marketing Solicitors section. And I will take your questions shortly. Firstly, if you're not measuring all of those numbers, please do. If you're not doing Google Ads, well, it's an opportunity if you want more work. But if you are, you need to be measuring the numbers. Measure all of those numbers. Make sure you're working on your Google My Business. If you're not doing email marketing, not a bad thing to start. And yeah, let me have any questions, either by emailing them after this, if something comes up to you afterwards, mfrs@sampsonconsulting.co.uk, or you can ask them in a second. And yeah, next we're going to cover what I do think is the holy grail: conversions. No firm has really licked this process 100%. There's always room for improvement. And if I can help you to make that improvement, then I'll be a very happy boy. So let me stop the share, and then I can see if anyone's there. Hello, Mr. Cook. Hi, Chris. How are we all? Nice to see you. Anyone have any questions? Anyone have any thoughts or comments? Hello, Mark. Anyone like to be unmuted by Christelle? Mark's unmuted.
Hello, that was Mark. Great. I thought it was very interesting, Nick. You covered a lot of stuff.
Thank you very much.
Some things we're doing, some things we aren't doing. So yeah, it was all good, and as always, very straightforward and clear.
I try and make it as simple as if I can understand it even. And next week, I think Mark will be the a key thing, because we're going to cover the conversion in more detail. I know you're very interested in that. Or next week, yeah. Next time, a few weeks' time. But yeah, all I'd say to you is, all of you, if you go away, have any questions, please just ping them into me so I can cover them in future training. That's what more you ask for, more I can give you. So let me know where you're struggling. Mr. Cook, how are you doing? I can't hear you. I don't know if your mic's not on. No, I lost you. You well, Chris? You're muting, so let's click on that.
Yep.
There he is. How are you doing?
Yeah, there we are. Yeah, very well. Thanks. Yourself? You're looking
good.
Well.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Very good. I enjoyed that. It went quicker than I expected. I rattled through it a bit, but I know you're all busy people and it's half term. Why aren't you with the kids, Chris?
I've locked them in a cage somewhere out there.
quite right. Absolutely. Yeah. Very good. Did I? Oh, look. There's that. Is that Mark asking a question? Can I recommend an email marketing company using Aweber? I've altered something. It's difficult to add clients on a one-by-one basis. The files are opened. It's still possible to do that, Mark. You can just add a form to your website for just your staff to use, and they can pop over there. So I used to put it on just /email of my client sites, put on an Aweber form. You can literally just whack in the name and email address there, and that will get them onto your email database. So that is still possible, Mark. Ping me an email if you're stuck, but that's the easiest way of doing that, and works well. Christelle, did you get any more questions? Anything coming through? No? Okay. If any more for any more, are you all happy to depart? All looks good. Okay. Well, lovely seeing you all. Thanks for coming. And there'll be another one in a few weeks' time. I'll send you the announcement. As I say, any questions, feel free to email across to me. If you didn't want to do it on the call, completely understand. I don't like talking on the call either, but if I didn't do it, you'd all be a bit bored. So yeah, keep the questions coming, and I'll make sure I answer them in future trainings. And lovely to see you all. Thanks for coming. Have a lovely afternoon. Take care all. Bye-bye.